may just be getting involved in tournaments. Um, and one of the things that I love so much about social media is sharing my experiences to help somebody. So
Right.
opportunities like
Yeah.
this, man, I'm all about that.
Yeah, it's man, it's a great blend of people here. There's quite a few people that just started fishing, some that have been fishing a while that just started tournament fishing, and then
Okay.
there's some old school vets in here too that've been fishing a long time. It's a pretty good blend of everybody. But quite a few tournament fishermen in the group, because I see posts in our community section all the time of people placing well in their tournaments, showing their
Nice.
results, and et cetera. So I think this would be something that'll hit home with us. Um, let's just jump right into it. They don't need no intro. They know we know who Mark, man. We know who Mark is, what he's done, man. I feel like it'd be an insult to try to tell you go look him up. Go if you don't know, go look him up. It'd be real easy. You don't even have to type in his name.
Uh,
Just type in MDJ. That's all you got to
That's
do. The
it.
letters.
That's
You
it.
know the letters, and you pull
Like
it
you
up.
crazy.
So this is what we're going to talk about in this live here. So we're just talking about how to fish tournaments, and these are the key points that we're gonna lead in. If you got questions, throw them in the app, throw them in the chat right now, and we'll get to the chat at the end of the discussion. If something comes up that's very pertinent to these topics, we may stop, take a moment and address them there. But at the end of this discussion, we'll do a Q&A. So what I want to talk about is discovering tournament areas. I'm not talking
Hmm.
about, there's a very big difference between just going out, catching some fish on the weekend with your grandkids, with your buddy, or whoever you like to fish with, and fishing tournaments. Finding areas for tournaments is a different discipline. We want to talk about that. How do you do that? What does it look like? That's what we're gonna talk about. That number one. We're gonna talk about what makes an area special.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about how you deal with some adversity. So this tournament that Mark Fish here, he had some technical difficulties, and then of course, like the fish are acting crazy, and then you got changing conditions all on top of that, and all of this happened in one tournament. He still had a good tournament. So we want to talk about how you deal with that, because everybody's had that one tournament. I have them too. I just had them every tournament I done fished this year. I done come in with an excuse. Every single one of the tournament, man. If this wouldn't have happened, or if that wouldn't happen,
Uh-huh.
how you deal with that? We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk, and then everybody's favorite part is choosing the right lure and the tech. The lures. What did we use? What was he throwing? Why was it this rod? Why was it that line? We'll get into that, and then we'll talk about raw reel line, and then how he came about choosing those. Kind of the same subject. So, all
Yeah.
right, Mike, we can jump to that first slide. Actually, you know what I want to do? Let's do this. I'm gonna start off with a few clips first. I'm gonna share that screen. Okay, Mike. Let me do this screen share
Yeah.
thing. Let's see. I want to jump to. I want to show y'all where he's fishing. So let's talk about this. So Mark is fishing. Actually, I'm gonna hold that for a second. I'm gonna hold that just 1 second. Sorry, my brain's going 1,000 different ways. I guess I'm just excited. I'm gonna go back to the main screen, Mike. So first of all, we're fishing Saginaw Bay. Is this tournament we're
Yep.
about to show? I did a little bit of research on Saginaw Bay here. So let me share with y'all what I found out about Saginaw Bay. This ain't your normal fishery. This is why I think this is a good one to do this on. Check this out. Saginaw Bay is 1,143 square miles.
Crazy.
You hear me? So we ain't talking about, oh, it's 50,000 acres, 60,000 acres, 20,000 acres. Most of our lakes are probably somewhere between 10,000 and 50,000 acres. This place,
Mhm.
they can't measure it in acres, is 1,143 square miles. How you find a place there? This is on Lake Huron, stretching 51 miles inland. It is
Mhm.
historically famous for building in the 19th century timber hub, and currently celebrated for its world-class walleye fishing and crucial ecological wetlands. There was something else that I found pretty interesting about it. Um, let me go. Where is it? This here. There was another part that I found that was. They call it the Florida of the North.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, when you think about northern fishing, if you're from the South, people from the North, I already know. When you think about northern fishing, you typically think about smallmouth, open water, big water, that type of thing. But they call it the Florida of the North. The rim of the bay and Saginaw Bay River are heavily packed with marshes, reeds, and matted vegetation. You talking? Oh, you just almost talking sexual to me when you talk like that, closely resembling the famous Lake Okeechobee. So what y'all about to
Yeah.
see when I say Saginaw Bay, we talking about Michigan. You probably thinking, oh, he's about to talk about smallmouth and light line spinning reels. No, buddy. We're gonna be talking about matted vegetation, flipping, pitching, how you find all that kind of stuff. All right, so look at this. I want y'all to look at this here. And this is going to kind of lead us into give you a visual of what Mark is fishing, and then and we're just going to talk about how he discovered this, et cetera, et cetera.
This little stretch right here, I caught so many bass yesterday. Might have caught them all. Dude, I was smoking them right here.
Working them on that. I already look at that bait. I know y'all probably thought she was going to see something with a bunch of shakies on it.
2 pounds, 5 ounces. All right. Thank you, bud. Gotta put some pressure on these bad boys. These last couple of days, they probably scared to bite something.
Yacht! There he is.
There he is. There's some fun. There's some fun fishing right here.
Yeah, man. I'm low key just. I'm salivating, thinking about. I need some water. I'm getting hot.
Yeah. Damn it. A couple cuss words.
Hey, you'll have that.
What's up, dude?
It happens. You'll definitely have that.
It happens.
We'll talk about that fish catch a little bit later. I got questions. All right, so let's go back.
Yes, sir.
So, Mike, let's go back to that first slide. I'm gonna stop sharing here once I figure out how to do that. There we go. Stop sharing. Okay, so all right, Mark, I'm gonna hand it over to you now. So obviously you found the area. I mean, you just smoked them every cast. Yeah. And the $9 million question is, that's a 1,200 square mile body of water. How in the world did you discover that area? Is I think should be our first topic we should talk about.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and give the viewers a little more context to what you're dealing with. Well, you said it already. There's miles and miles and miles and miles of stuff that looks the exact same as that I was just fishing, and it's like, why would they be here versus the other 100 miles of the same exact looking type cover, right?
Yeah, that's
what was like really special about that place. That place was a very, very special spot. It was only about 100 yards long, the entire stretch, maybe even a little short at more like 80. And I probably weighed 25 bass off of it, maybe more. The water right there was about a half a foot deeper than everywhere else. That's all. 6 to 10 inches deeper. The grass had a little more water on it, a little more security. And naturally there were bait fish and things of that such swimming in and out of those. I forget what they call that grass right there up north.
I don't know what it is either. I never seen that in any places I've been.
It almost looks like corn. It's like they had a name, and I'm drawing a blank, but there was a
It's not
lot of
rice.
toolies there too. No, it's
It,
not rice, but
not
it
rice.
looks similar to rice, but it's more of a stout, taller stalk, real hard to the
Yeah,
touch. Some really you know what it reminds me of down in like Venice, Louisiana, that Rosa
Rosa
cane.
cane. Yeah,
Very
Rosa
similar.
cane. Yeah,
Very similar to Rosa cane.
it looks like short Rosa cane to me. That's what it looks like.
Yes.
I don't even know if I'm
It
saying that right, but that's what I call it.
it feels like it. It fishes like it. You lose them in it like it. It's the same.
Oh, oh, yeah.
You know?
So, and was you mentioned that's a little deeper, so that can mean a
Yeah.
lot of different things. Is the water clear enough for you to see that it's a lot deeper, or are you using a
No.
graph to figure out it's deeper? How did you
So
come up?
that's very good question. And the water is semi clear to a certain extent, but you could not visually look at that and go, "Oh, that's going to be a little bit deeper right there." It
Yeah.
was literally one of those scenarios that you had to fish down that stretch to know that.
Okay. Okay.
And
So
so I was fortunate enough to come through there and practice, and I had some bites obviously, and I realized that it was a little bit deeper. So as the week went on, and there's 50 other guys out there with us. Well, last year there was 66, and nobody else had that place but me. I was fishing it by myself, and it was because if you didn't go down that 80-yard stretch, you didn't realize that it was a half a foot deeper, and you didn't realize how many fish were there. Because surely anybody going down that stretch, you were going to get bit.
yeah. So 1,200 square miles. You just pick out a bay and start picking it apart. Is it that simple? Is that kind of how you started to break that down, or
Well,
because I mean, for me, a lot of times it might be very just so that. Like,
it wasn't necessarily that simple. It was this. So, I had been to Saginaw Bay the year prior or 2 years prior. So I did have a little bit of
right.
previous history there. Um, but this particular bay that I was in was an area where I had caught several fish in the past. So I wanted to kind of recheck some areas and look at some new stuff and just kind of move around that area and just see what I thought. And I got in there, and this particular little island right here, I never fished. So I was like, I'm gonna pull up on that since I kind of been all these other places. I've yet to fish this. And then I come down that stretch and I immediately see like, dang, it's a little bit deeper right here. And as I'm going down there flipping with no hook, it's just like
Oh
dunk,
yeah.
dunk, dunk, dunk. And I'm like, waypoint, waypoint, waypoint.
Hold on, you glossed right over that way too fast. Because I know people saying, "Wait a minute, he went through there with no hook."
No hook.
Hey, don't
Practice,
skip over
baby.
that part. Hey, wait, don't
Hey,
skip over
listen,
that. Tell me
you
more.
you you definitely don't want to be the guy that wins practice.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times when these fish are in these areas like that, we're talking about thick cover, they have the habitat, the food's there, they're not leaving. So the last thing I'd love to do is come down that stretch with a loaded hook ready to go during practice, and we all know what's going the result of that. You're going to catch that four
You're
pounder
going to
that
catch him.
he's gonna choke it, he's gonna wrap you around the grass, he's never coming off. It's just that's how practice works.
Yeah.
So in practice, a lot of times, especially when I'm fishing flipping style baits or Texas rigs and things like that, I'm gonna have just a screw lock or a hitchhiker, we call it, with no hook. I just want to get the bite, get the confidence in the area, and move along. And then I'll circle back during the actual tournament time.
Yeah. I heard. I used to try this too, and I learned the hard way that you can't even do it this way. So most people say, "Well, I ain't got no hitchhikers. How about I just bend the hook in?" It don't work.
Tell them
In
what happens,
practice,
V, when you do
bro,
that.
in practice, you literally can take this hook, bend him all the way to the shaft, closed, completely closed. I had
Yeah.
no idea how they will hook themselves with that hook. No hook set or nothing. You're like, dupe, he got it. And you're like, letting him go, letting him go, letting him go. And you're like, he won't let it go. He's all the way around the boat. You're like, well, I got to do something. You just start reeling. Somehow that
Yeah.
hook can open up, got all around there, and got him. He'll never come off.
Boy, I've done that
Never
so many
come off.
times, B.
Yeah, you
Done it so
cannot
many
use
times.
it. Yep.
You cannot do that, man. So I just learned, heck, I didn't have them with the hitchhiker. sometimes they want it so bad they've swallowed my bait with no hook, and I'm
Yeah.
sitting there fighting them. I mean, you're at this point, you're legit fighting them, and then you just get back your weight in the screw lock. They
Yeah.
didn't ate the bait completely.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
ate the bait. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
that's definitely a thing. The other thing I think fishing, I've done this like with punching or anytime you're fishing heavy vegetation with no screw lock, you never get snagged. So in practice, you can be so efficient putting that bait in, getting it out, getting it out. You're like you're not snagging as much. You know, it can take a lot of
Exactly.
time getting more baits and
Yep.
all the things there. But definitely, if you don't want to get bit, if you don't want to catch your practice fish, like you cannot use a hook. Now,
No.
we could go probably 20 minutes on this one subject. So I know somebody's probably going to ask, well, what if I'm fishing a crankbait, or what if I'm fishing, you know, something where it's not quite as easy to use a hitchhiker? You got any game on that? What's your thought process on that? I'm fishing
Yeah,
a popper,
absolutely, man.
any of that.
All of that. So like a popper, since we just brought that up, I'm taking the hooks off of them. Any top water, I'm taking the hooks off, because, or I'm throwing hooks that are completely rolled in, and I'm making sure it will not catch a fish, because sometimes on top water base it changes the action if you just completely remove the
Yeah,
hooks. So I do want to have hooks on it, but I'm going to roll them in, and it's a top water base, so the fish is going to show himself, so you can get a good idea, like, oh, that was a little baby boy, that was probably a 2 pounder, or that was probably a 3 to 5 pounder, a good one, right? So you
yeah,
could kind of see that. uh
yeah,
with crankbaits, I'm rolling them in again. When a bass grabs that bait, it feels, a lot of times it's just like a jig. You grinding that crankbait along, and all of a sudden you feel that thump, and he
uh-huh.
literally will have it. And if you tighten up, he'll whoop, whoop, whoop,
Yes, sir.
come off. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
And then on baits like spinner baits, chatter baits, things like that, I like to put a sleeve over the hook. If I'm really trying not to catch these fish, I'll put, because you don't want to damage your $20 jackhammer, or your
yeah,
your $15 spinner bait, whatever the case. I'll put a sleeve like what comes standard on a jackhammer chatterbait, like some surgical tubing, over my hook to where I don't damage my bait, but yet I don't hook the fish. You know,
yeah.
very important, man, because sometimes, as you know, Brian, man, you ain't gonna get but 4 bites all day,
You're
three
not
bites
gonna
all
give
day,
us so
5 bites.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna get but so many. You need to, if you can preserve those fish in any shape and fashion, you need to try to do it.
I Is there any situation where you don't really worry about catching fish in practice, where you're like, "Ah, it's not that big of a deal," or is that all that's
Yes.
100% every time?
Oh no, no, it changes. So like, and I always catch some just because I want to kind of get an idea. But this is
Yeah.
after you kind of know and you're
Mhm.
working and developing a pattern, and it's like, okay, this is a thing, and I don't need to hurt any more quality fish. That's when I'll roll my hooks in. But yes, like a shad spawn, for example, that's such a timely situation that's only going to happen for so long. In addition to that, you have new fish moving in and out, pulling up every single day. So you're not trying to necessarily catch that one bass that was sitting on that dock corner. Well, you could show up tomorrow, there's going to be 8 new ones. And then you show up
Yeah.
the next day, there'll be 10 new ones. And so it's not as vital. You could catch a couple of those bass and it's not going to hurt you. But there's other scenarios where there's one single laydown on this bank, and you pull up on it and you flip a jig in there. You do not want
Mm,
to crack that fish.
no, no. I
You want to leave him alone.
I think, there's several different scenarios where I think I found myself either using a hitchhiker, trying not to catch the fish, or,
Yes.
there are situations where, like, I think, I'll go ahead and catch them. Um,
Yeah.
I heard Brian Thrift say something one time that really stuck with me. You know, I got to do his voice. He said,
Come on. Hey, let the people. Do the people even know you can do this? If they don't, they in for a
he
treat,
said,
boy. I might
Thrift
turn my
told
record on.
he said, Thrift told me, he said, well, if you can't catch a couple of them, then you ain't really found nothing anyway. So I can't say
Hey.
he's wrong about that. You know, if I can't pull two or three of them off at certain times of the year. Let me give you a scenario. If they're spawning, and you're like flipping and pitching, you cannot be setting the hook. The
No.
bass are spawning, like you literally can go back and catch that fish four
Mm-hmm.
days later.
Mm-hmm.
Literally. So, you know, those times I feel like it's very important. In the fall time, like I'm creek fishing in the fall where I know on a great day I'm going to get like 7 bites. I
Yep.
can't. Yeah, we're not catching fish.
Yep.
That's another scenario. Scenario like where you're just fishing up north. Those fish live on the bank up there north, like those largemouth. They don't ever back off. Like if I get a couple bites, I don't go catch any more fish. Um, the other method that I use in tournament fishing is once I kind of see a pattern developing. Let's say I go down a stretch, you get 3, 4, 5 bites, and it's like you could almost call a shot. I don't really
Yeah.
fish anymore.
No.
Now it's big motor, find more of that area because I know that this is going down. I understand why it's going down. Like I see what's happening. I see the
Yep.
patterns
Yep.
developing. Then
Yep.
I may catch a couple, and then I don't like to. I just won't catch any more, and I won't even fish
Right.
it at all.
No.
Like won't fish it at
No.
all.
You just mark what you've seen. When you see the pattern show up, you just mark that, and then you'll check that on tournament day.
And just turn it and check it on tournament days. So it's like a couple. I think there's a couple of different options, but there's definitely scenarios where I think you don't need to be catching them fish at all. So did we just lose Mark? Probably the phone went dead, didn't it?
We did.
Yeah, probably his phone just went dead. So I'll answer some questions while he's getting his phone back all up. So how do you fish with no hook? You fish the bait to get the bite, and you're not worried about the hook. That was from John G. Wilson. He said, "How do you fish with no hook?" So you're just trying to get the bites. When you're tournament fishing, you're just trying to get the bite, John. It's not trying to catch fish. We don't need to boat them. You phone died.
Sorry, I got a
Oh,
phone
oh,
call. I got a phone
oh,
call.
yeah,
Messed
yeah.
everything up.
Oh yeah, yeah. Man, I was about to go through a few of these questions. We'll jump to those at the
Oh,
end. Um,
okay.
let's see. What were we talking? So let's discovering the area. How long did it take you to find that area? You said you'd already spent time there, but a couple days, couple
Yeah.
hours. What was the deal before you time frame?
Yeah, that was probably like midday, on
Midday
a
first
practice
day?
day. And again, on the first day of practice. And that's
Yeah.
me just bebopping around trying stuff, like I'm gonna check a little of this, I'm gonna check a little of that. And I got lucky and I just happened to pull up on that stretch. Like I'm telling you, it was really small. The water was just a little bit deeper, and I didn't even know that initially. I had to troll down that stretch in order to recognize that.
Okay.
And once I did, I immediately knew that it was going to be a special place. But I didn't know it was going to kick out as many bass as it did. I mean, I caught so many bass right there.
That's
It was
northern
crazy.
largemouth fishing. People don't like. I think northern largemouth fishing is so underrated, and I get it because people are looking for the biggest fish, and in
Sure.
most tournaments, you probably up north. Most tournaments, you probably can't win on largemouth up that way. Most, like, keep in
Yeah.
mind, most. I can't remember the last time a northern tournament's been won with largemouth. I ain't saying that hadn't happened. It's been a long time. I feel like.
It's tough.
Am I wrong?
Well, in a five fish, it's really tough. But Wheeler won that tournament on largemouth frogging.
Was he? Oh, I do remember that he was
Yeah,
frogging.
yeah,
Yeah.
last year. So
It was a little different. That I think Saginaw Bay is a little different than some of the
yeah,
more northeastern um, fisheries that we've been to. But I don't think Champlain used to be one on largemouth occasionally, but I don't think it's been one on largemouth in years, if I'm not
no,
mistaken.
no,
Smallmouth just getting too big nowadays.
and
It's just
aggressive,
small season.
100%.
All right, Mike. Let's jump to that next slide. I can't remember where our next point we want to talk about here. We kind of really hit that. We wanted to talk about what makes, you talked about what makes that area special for as, I guess, I don't want to say physically, but just tournament areas in general. Do you have a number of bites? Is it something that you see that when you land on that area, like, hey, this is a tournament, like this is where I'm going to spend my tournament? How do you decide that? What makes an area game for you to fish on tournament day?
Yeah, a lot of times, I mean, obvious first and foremost, most obvious thing is the presence of the fish, right? Obviously, the bass are there,
Yeah.
but when you start seeing combinations of things like not only are the bass here, the brim are here. Not only are the brim here, the shad is here. So it's like this is compiling to be an area where these fish want to frequent and they're going to want to stay because the food source is there. Now, there are times where you might find a area you got a couple of bites and there's no bait fish whatsoever. A lot of times, those are places that I come back to on tournament day and I can't, all of a sudden, I can't get a bite.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense because there wasn't nothing to keep them there to begin with. So they're kind of moving around, looking and hunting themselves. But when you roll up on an area and there's bait flickering, or you looking out forward facing sonar, or you know your 2D sonar or whatever you have, and you seeing clouds of bait, and you just seeing activity, and there's reason for the bass to stick around. Oftentimes, these are your really good tournament areas. For
Yeah.
me,
I like the way you're breaking that down. So I came up with this little deal here in the app where we talk about breaking down lakes, and it's like really simple. Was it 3 or 4 steps? I mean, we make finding fish really complicated. Sometimes I think it's ego talking, but really at the end of the day, all you got is what's available in the lake. And so, like Saginaw Bay, you had grass, and I imagine y'all fish for some smallmouth with like
yeah,
fishing rock piles or something like that. If you want to
hmm
catch those, that's available. You had that reed lines, rosa cane, rice, whatever we want to call the grass. So that's what's available in the
yep,
lakes. Second thing we need to know is like what the bass are eating. So like you mentioned, brim, perch, shad, what like crawfish. What are they actually eating? And
right,
then I think it's really important for you to know your strengths. So if they're biting a deep crank on ledges in Kentucky Lake, that's great. But if I don't know how to do that, sometimes that's a bad idea, especially with 1 or 2 days of practice, which most of us, some of our guys in the app, they may have to practice the weekend before. They may have just the Saturday
right,
before the tournament. And so
right,
it's hard to get a technique down this
yeah,
far in a day or two. So I think it's really important for you to find, to know your strengths. And so like you talking about that, the area having reason for bass to be there, that really speaks to the lake breakdown process that we talked about there. So
yeah,
yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned that. Um,
100%.
Mike, what's our next slide on this one? Oh yeah. So I want to play a couple slides on here. I'm gonna go to my share again. Okay, Mike.
I'm ready.
He said he is ready, my man. Okay, let's see. So everybody thinks you go out here, these fish. I got the latest and greatest technology. I got new boat. Well, listen to what he
Looks like
says
the
here.
water came down a little bit overnight, which is very possible in this place. This lake, I've noticed the water will fluctuate like a foot a day, one way or another. I got two. Huh? Yeah. You gotta let them suckers have it. I got two. The bigger ones will just eat it. Sometimes they hit it and you gotta let them like mouth it for a second.
My
Got
man,
out there live scoping.
I'm gonna hold on that. We'll come back to that part in a minute here. So it ain't there's a lot going on here that we should talk about. So you get out there, you're fishing. I want to talk about the water levels changing. So you mentioned something about like the water levels changing. How do you account for that for practice? Sometimes, how do you deal with that? Changing conditions. It was cloudy in practice, now it's sunny. It was high, now the water is low. It was clear, now it's muddy. Can
Yeah.
you go into a little bit about how you account for that in your practice during the tournament day? Where's your mental? We should just dive into that because that's going to happen to all of us.
Yeah, oh, you're gonna deal with that every time you go fishing. So the one thing that's unique about Saginaw Bay and a lot of big open expansive areas, Okeechobee's like that, Saginaw Bay's like that, probably a lot of your Great Lakes are like that. Different from like, we always account for, is it sunny? Is it cloudy? Is it gonna be raining? Is it not? Is it
Yeah.
windy? Is it calm? These are just normal things that we account for on a day to day, right? But that fluctuation of wind tide can be a tough one. And
Yeah.
that's what I was dealing with at Saginaw Bay was a wind tide. Depending on the direction of the wind, you would have the water come up or come down up to a foot one way or another, depending on the direction the wind was blowing, which obviously can make things very, very difficult,
Yeah.
fishing wise and just navigation, the whole
Navigation.
nine. Oh my gosh. Saginaw Bay is the most treacherous place I've ever ran a bass boat
Yeah.
as a side note. It's a great
Rocks.
fishery, really nothing but rock. Everything there
No
is
thanks.
hard, very hard.
Yeah.
And
No
you
thanks.
you you hurt your stuff there. But weather is something, weather is very important. We obviously I'm always looking at 2, 3, 4 days out, which we all know how inaccurate the weatherman is. So it's very difficult to set dead on that. But you have to be in the mental capacity knowing that you are dealing with change, right? So you need to brace yourself and prepare during practice for some form of change, whether that's again sunny versus cloudy, calm versus windy, hot, cold. All these things are playing a role in the course of the day, and ultimately how the fish are going to react, and in this case, the kind of outcome you're going to have in a tournament.
That yeah. I think there's a couple there. You said a lot of really good stuff there. There's obviously the physical part of being prepared for it. Okay, the fish may move
Mhm.
from deep to shallow, shallow to deep, high to low, whatever that is. The most important part I think you just mentioned there was knowing that you're going to have to change on tournament day in some capacity
Mhm.
oftentimes.
Mhm.
Staying flexible, staying like this sounds so cliche, and we all say this. I hate this term because like, what does it mean? But staying in the moment. We say all these cute things. But what you talking about? Stay in the moment. Like, what does that
Right.
even
Right.
mean?
Right.
And I think you really just put the right words behind it. You go and staying in the moment means realizing and accepting the fact that what you found in practice in some way on tournament day may change a little bit.
Yep.
It's just it's almost like having kids. It's like, all right, that little sucker gonna warm up. He gonna wake up today, and
Yep.
he might be in a good mood, but he might not. He might.
It might not be.
And what you gonna do
Might
about
want
it?
to tear. You got to prepare for that. You got to be ready for that. It's
You
coming.
have, yeah. So this case, did you have to change much with the water falling or rising or
So
with the wind tides?
the fish kind of stayed doing the same thing. Fortunately, it was summertime. They're kind of in their summer pattern, so they're technically going to be doing the same things. That wind tide made it atrocious for navigation, man. So you looking for? I'm always looking for about 3 foot at least to put my boat up on pad. Even with
Yeah,
these hydraulic jack plates, getting them high as we can get them and trying to get on pad, you need about 3 foot. Well, you would have to idle at Saginaw Bay sometimes. No kidding, man. Mile and a quarter,
I believe, I
sometimes
believe it.
mile and a half before you can find that 3 foot to actually just so you can throw it up on pad and then run to the back of the next bay. That's about a half a foot shallower and
To
set it
go.
down
Uh-huh.
and do it all over again and hope some fish are in there because if not, then you're gonna have to idle 2 more miles back out of there.
Yeah, now you're
So it was one of those
into
deals.
an hour and a half into it, and you ain't caught no fish. Two
And you ain't
two
caught no
hours.
fish because you decided to come off pad in the back of a bay.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Very,
tough.
very challenging.
Running up north is I don't know how those people learn how to drive boats up there. Mississippi River, Saginaw Bay. Imagine having to learn how to drive a boat on the Mississippi River. Like,
Tough, man. You're gonna go through some gear cases, I promise you.
I already done did it every time. We always talk about that. Let me get this new boat so I can knock this skeg off of it this
Knocking
month. Go ahead and
clean
get him
off.
out. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Uh, so we had the wind tide we're dealing with.
Yeah,
Then there's other stuff that comes up, technical stuff. I know everybody thinks, oh, you got new stuff. They don't ever tear up. But you see, if I had the new stuff that you had, I'd have some good tournaments.
that's
And
right.
so
Yeah.
because I know I looked at it. So the people watching and listening, I'll see y'all in the comments. Y'all lighting it up today. Keep it coming. I think I watched the whole tournament, and were you at least planning to fish smallmouth in this one, or that was the idea until electronics started doing
Man,
weird stuff?
my 1-2 punch there. I had a good event. I think I finished like 18th. But what I was doing, I was fishing smallmouth in the morning, my first period, using forward facing sonar. Then I would sacrifice 35-minute, 40-minute boat ride, 40 minutes, run to largemouth, and then without forward fish 2 periods for largemouth. Well, on the knockout round day, which is one of the most important days, I run out there to fish smallmouth. I get out there and my screen goes black on my forward facing sonar. I can't see anything. I got nothing. And these fish are so smart and pressured that without scope, they're not swimming under the boat like they used to. You can old school 2D drop on them. Not happening. I'm casting at them 80, 90 feet away, and so now I got no forward facing. I can't fish for them. So I literally pack it up. I call my camera guy. I'm like, hey, come meet me at the ramp. He meets me. I put on a trailer, and then I drive an hour to another ramp to put in and go largemouth fish the rest of the day. So I lost about an hour and 45 minutes of fishing with forward facing sonar because my equipment failed, and that's just part of it.
Yeah, I think the difference a lot of times between somebody's fishing at your level versus the weekend guy is not throwing in the towel when that happens. It's easy to just start cussing and hey, you remember our boy CD back in the day? It just ain't my tournament, ain't my day.
It just ain't my day. Absolutely.
Ain't my tournament,
Absolutely.
ain't my day. But and maybe it was strategic from practice, but having 2 areas, and then just being flexible. Or
Yo,
that's why you have a good tournament flip. All right, it's out. What's next? What we got next? What I got to deal with? Let me go catch these
what you gonna
largemouth.
do? Yep.
What you gonna do? That's the easy way.
Yep.
We can make it sound
Hey,
cute, but it
the thing is that you're gonna deal with adversity no matter what. You're gonna have some stuff. There's levels to it. It was windy out there. I couldn't see him just as good as I could before because it was windy. Being able to have the mental capacity to fight through that, I'm never gonna give up ever.
right
I'm gonna
ever.
fight. I'm going down swinging every single time. So you know, dealing with that, it sucked. Did I cussed? Yeah, absolutely I did. But I didn't
Right.
put on a trailer and say, I didn't go, man, let's go home, man. Let's go get lunch. Let's go get breakfast. I said, hey, take me to this launch ramp, put me in so I can finish the day catching these largemouth and we can gain every single point that we can possibly get. And that
Every
was my
single time.
mindset.
I think that happens like on a grand scale, and then on like this micro scale, all throughout the day. So that's like an extreme situation. My grass went out. I knocked the lower unit off. Trolling more to quit work. These are the big things that happen. But in my mind, I still think it happens like in small moments too. So small moments I know have looked like this in some of my tournaments. You catch them on a stretch, you go back that stretch, and it's just like that don't exist. Oh, bro, you
Yeah,
thought you were going back there? Like those little
right.
small moments happens too. We saw some areas where you flipped in there in a bush and didn't set the hook, nothing there. It's like that happens on big levels and small levels of where
Yeah,
you don't just spin out mentally because something didn't go your way. It's almost like in tournament fishing, things are going to go awry, and your job is to bring it back to center. Like that's literally what you're out
yes,
there for.
yes,
That's the whole goal. Like
100%.
everything's gonna go wrong, and who manages all the wrong things that are happening the best is who does the best in the tournaments a lot of times.
That's a great way
So
to put it. I like that.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm still in
All
that.
right. Um, let's jump to our next one, Mike. I'm moving too slow. I'm 47 minutes in, and I'm like 2 slides in. I guess that's not bad. But it ain't.
We
So
having a good time.
obviously you end up pitching, flipping. I could think of
Yeah.
about 15 different techniques that you probably could use in this. Let's talk a little bit about how you arrived at flipping. flipping? Or how did you choose what you were doing? How did you choose what you were doing in Saginaw Bay or anytime? It don't have to be this tournament, but
Yeah.
you know, anytime. How are you choosing? How do you decide in this?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm always looking for. I'm looking at the habitat I'm fishing, the forage the fish are feeding on. Then it goes to me. All right, what's going to be the best slash most efficient way to attack them and catch them? And so, just the way Saginaw Bay was set up with all the thick, dense reeds, and you had to get back behind things, in and out, a Texas rig of some form was going to be the best presentation. You could have caught them on a multitude of baits, but I felt like a Texas rig and a little bit of a heavier weight. I think I was flipping a half-ounce weight there, getting back behind those reeds and those thick places where those bigger than average fish are going to be hanging out. It was just the most efficient thing. I could sit there with my power poles down and I can make 10 or 15 flips into these nice, dense, little dark areas. And then boom, you get those bites, you get them out of there. You don't disrupt the area. You sitting still. It was just all about efficiency for me. So um, that was part of it. And then I know everyone noticed the lure that I was using, which was a Texas rig Cinco. And I think that's one of the most overlooked baits to flip. And it's one of my all-time favorite. I flip it all the time, everywhere I go. And I'm not sponsored by Yamamoto or none of that. It's just those stick bait style baits. There's every company makes one, whatever your favorite one is. I feel like it's a look that they don't see often in that situation. So your average guy is gonna throw a crawfish style bait right then, which will work as well. But I know this, and so for me, I'm always trying to just do something a little bit different, show them something just a little bit different. So that week I went with a Cinco, and gosh, man, I don't know how many bass I flipped up that week, but it was a lot, and it was fun.
Yeah, it was two things that you said right there that I don't want to skip over. So you talked about throwing, flipping and pitching the Cinco, and I think we should probably go a little bit deeper on just like some non-traditional. I'm all about like pitching and flipping is probably my favorite thing to do. I like that close quarter stuff.
Oh
But
yeah.
usually when you hear flipping and pitching, everybody's mind goes to jig, creature bait. But
Mm-hmm.
there's non-traditional flipping baits, especially in the summer if you live in the southeast that you need to explore this time of the year. So is there any other non-traditional baits you like to use for flipping and pitching besides Cinco?
A Cinco's one for sure. Um, this is not non-traditional, but it's kind of forgotten about. Old school. I feel like me and you, Brian, we very close in age, and we've been fortunate enough to experience a lot of the old school stuff from when
Oh
we were
yeah,
kids, and then
and the
now,
new
obviously, all of the new stuff, right? We
yeah.
do all it too, but I'm a listed as a non-traditional bait just because you don't hear much about it in this application hardly at all anymore. But it's been a staple forever, and that's a tube. A tube
Yeah,
flipping
tubes went away.
is a excellent freaking bait. That's kind of
Yeah,
slept on, nobody talks about, but it catches them, man. Very subtle, natural, and it just flat out gets bit. So a tube is
you're
another
right.
excellent choice, to replace your creature style baits, man.
Yeah, I forgot about it. I honestly forgot about it. I can't tell you the last time I flipped a tube, to be honest with you.
I know it, man. It's slept on, but there's some guys out there. I ain't gonna say no names because I don't want to, give up they juice,
Yeah,
But, man, there are some guys on tour still flip a tube quite a bit, and they're very successful with it.
man, it's something I've noticed is a lot of the best baits for flipping and pitching were so notorious for tying on a lure, letting it swim right beside the boy. Little boy, look at that thing kick. You see, God, look at the
Uh-huh.
action. It looks so
Uh-huh.
lifelike. All of my favorite flipping and pitching baits they don't have no action.
Yes, sir.
I mean, like darn near nothing. A tube,
Yep.
don't do nothing when you put him in the water. He
Don't
don't
do
do
nothing.
nothing. They may say his tentacles do this and that. Man, that thing ain't doing nothing. They stuck
Yep.
together.
It's
They ain't doing nothing.
profile, it's profile, and he does glide a little bit.
A little
Profile
bit.
and he does a little glide. That's it.
You know,
Subtle.
if you think about it, though, a lot of the things in the water that move around, if you ever watch them, they don't do any of that kicking and stuff. They kind of just kind of
Exactly.
whoop, they just kind of
That's
move
it.
around. And
Listen,
they don't
I've
have,
caught some
whoop,
as a kid. I caught crawfish day in and day out. You ain't seen a crawfish have no kicks ever. He do
he
one
kicked the
little.
crawl, nothing. Yeah.
That's it.
Bobby does it the best. Bobby does it with sound effects. Things move and stop. They move and stop. You know how Bobby does it? We
You
talking
talking
about
about
Bobby
Barrett?
Barrett. Barrett,
Bobby
yeah.
Barrett? Yeah, yeah.
I know most of y'all in the app. Most of y'all probably don't know Bobby. Quite a few of y'all
Oh,
do because he's done some stuff here in the app. But Bobby is really good with sound effects and like his teaching. Like
100%,
he's the best
man.
fishing teacher I've ever experienced. Like
I agree. I agree.
I have caught
He gonna paint
30
you a
to 40
picture.
pounds. Yes, bro. He paints you a picture so well.
Gonna paint you a picture.
Um, but
Yes.
he talks about that. He say things move and stop. They move and stop. You know, I was like, dang, he's mad at me about. I was like, God
Hey, he
dang,
makes you be
dang, they
passionate. Hey,
move,
Bobby
they
bringing
move,
that
they
passion, baby.
stop. Yes,
Yeah, he
yes.
bringing
But
it.
a tube is a good one. Cinco, I've caught a lot of them flipping grass on the Cinco. Even think about some of the good creatures, they don't have action. Beavers don't have action.
No action.
I like a trick worm. I flip a trick
Yep.
worm a lot. I
No
this one does
action.
have some action, but it's really not a lot. A lizard is good for me in the spring. Now I haven't used it in about a year or two. A lizard is really
Yep.
good.
Very good.
Um, another non-traditional one. So probably the one that I've been talking about in the app. By the way, this workshop just dropped too in the app. Y'all got a lot of stuff going on right now. Been talking about big worms, and I flip an old monster a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Almost, I want to say almost exclusively in the summertime. I saw Brian
Yep.
Barty, one of the guys from up north. He caught some smallmouth on Old Monster. I would have never done that
That's
ever.
crazy.
Never on my. That's not even on my radar. But flipping laydowns and docks from basically from May or June in my area of the country all the way until October. Old Monster is probably the first bait that I grabbed
Oh yeah.
when I'm. It's that's I would say that's non-traditional. Where I live is very traditional, but I would say that's somewhat non-traditional, or yeah, non-traditional bait. Let's see what else on my wall is kind of different. I know some guys flip like a minnow style bait. You remember that time Brent Ayler did good at the classic flipping a minnow
Yeah.
like a
That
D shad?
was on that D shad. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So a
You
minnow
know, it
bait.
just it's just scenarios, minnow baits, and then you get into the shad spawn. A lot of white, which is very untraditional bait to actually flip. A lot of white baits, menace grubs or whatever your favorite white style crawl is. That becomes
Mhm.
a thing, for a
Yeah,
short moment of time. I mean, there's just a lot of different things going on where you don't have to throw your just everyday traditional creature bait. I just like showing them something different once again.
creatures and jigs aren't always it. Uh,
Yeah.
second thing you mentioned in there that we kind of just skimmed over, I think is really important that people need to catch on to, is you said you were flipping in these little dark areas.
Yeah.
Tell me what that's about, because that's a key point to for people to know and look for when they're fishing grass, little dark areas.
100%. Yeah, I mean, those bass are going to always seek out those I call them dark areas where they feel most comfortable and they also have the best ambush position. And that's why they seek out. It's no different than if you fish a upland reservoir and it's not a lot of cover in the lake and it's warm out. What do? You run shade. You fish one side of the lake as the sun moves. Oh, there's some shade over here. You start running the shade because that bass feels most comfortable and he also feels like he has the best advantage over his prey in that particular situation. And so in the grass, it's no different. I'm always visualizing as I'm going down that bank and I'm looking at that grass. Like I will just see like it'll be like this big, a little pocket. It's just a little dark pocket next to the reed clump right there. I'm flipping into that reed clump because I feel like he's hiding in there because it's dark right there. It's dense, it's dark, and he's feeling comfortable. So let me put my bait right there. And that's just something I've learned over the years, growing up flipping and spending a lot of time flipping. You just start noticing these little small nuances that is the biggest difference from flipping in there and getting a bite and not. Like you could have went down that bank and just didn't know what you're doing. You just flipping in all the sunny patches, and you may not get a bite.
Right. Right.
You know?
Those dark. There's a lot going on with dark. You know, being horticulture. When I think, I think that's got a lot to do why I like grass fishing because I don't have grass where I live. But
Right.
if I see a grass fisher on the schedule, my tongue starts like watering because
Yeah.
it's grass fish. They tell you where they are pretty simple. Those dark areas is very simple. Dark grass can't grow where it's dark, so you're gonna
Nope.
have a hole there. Grass fish
Yep.
almost always go. They go one or two places. They go where it's thickest or where it's thinnest. That dark spot, like you said, you were talking about shade. Shade
Yep.
creates a cavern, a little hole. They gonna sit right in it or right outside of it. Chomp
Yes,
chomp.
sir.
That's just the grass fishing is so much fun because it's pretty predictable. I feel
Yeah,
like
it can
very.
be. It 100% can be. Once you
Um,
figure it out.
yeah, once you figure it out, everything's hard until you know what to do. Everything in life
That's
is hard
right.
until you know what to do. All of it, every last bit of
100%.
it. Michael, was it the last slide was pretty much what I just said the rod. Yeah, let's do that one though. So, Mark, can we break down your rod reel line combo for this joint?
Of course, man. Of course. So obviously I'm flipping. There's it's semi-heavy cover. There's the potential of a bass wrapping me up and getting off. Um, and the water is a little bit off colored. And so I'm using I'm setting this all up so I can explain to you all why I'm using what I'm using. I'm using a 7'8" heavy action flipping stick. I got 50-pound braided line. I got a high speed gear ratio reel, 8-to-1 probably. And obviously a Texas rig, half-ounce weight to a Cinco to a 3/0 straight shank flipping hook. And the reason why that I'm doing all of this is this. And if you watch the highlights Brian put in this video, or if you even go watch my YouTube video on this tournament, whatever, you will see when I set the hook initially where these fish are, and the whole idea behind it is to move them. You have to move these fish in order to stand a chance at landing them. So that's the reason for the heavy rod. So I'm flipping in there, I get the bite. When I initially set the hook, I want that fish to get away from that same little dark clump where I just flipped my Cinco next to. I need him away from that because the moment he turns and goes back into that, now I'm at like a 50% chance of catching
Oh,
that fish. So that's the reason for the heavy rod. The braided line, anytime I'm fishing grass, whether it's reeds like this or hydrilla, milfoil, any kind of grass, whether it's submergent or emergent, it doesn't matter. I like braid because I feel like braid cuts grass. So again, you hook a fish down in that kind of cover, you set the hook, it's going to cut the grass or it's going to find a way to break loose to where you can free the fish and land the fish. So very important there to have braided line in my opinion. And then, of course, you want to couple that with a high speed reel. Again, when you watch me fish in this instance, if you watch me make the flip, get the bite, set the hook, and then when I start wrenching on that with that high speed reel, you'll see 2 to 3, 4 reel turns, fish is in a boat. And that's what you want.
got him.
You don't you need him in the boat like yesterday. I don't want him dangling around, swimming a little bit that way, a little bit that way. I need you immediately in the boat so I can get you on the scale. Because no sooner he hooks a left and goes a little bit that way, he's coming off. So that was the purpose of going really heavy like that. Even though the fish weren't huge, I think the biggest one I caught flipping was maybe a 3-pounder, but a lot of 2 to 3 pounders. And let me tell you something, a 2-pounder will kick your butt in some
Kick
of
your
that
butt.
grass stuff. 100% he will. He'll beat you down. Exactly. He'll beat you down, son. He had you cussing.
Yes, yeah. You'd be like,
I
oh, that's a
promise you.
big one. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Whole
the same
time he
thing.
was a no, I was a 114.
Yes, man. That's northern. The northern largemouth are so strong. So,
They are.
all right, I'm asking you a few questions that I know the answer of that I know people are already gonna ask.
Yeah. Let me
So
hear it.
why? And I already Why not braid the fluorocarbon? Are you worried about the fish seeing the braid? Why straight braid? Explain to them
Straight
that.
straight braid, and I kind of explain that straight braid because I want to be able to cut. So my rule of thumb is this: and you ask 20 pros, you're gonna get 20 different answers. Okay,
20 different answers. 26 different
Brian will
answers.
likely have a different answer. 6, yeah, exactly. Grass, I'm throwing braid. Wood, I'm throwing fluorocarbon. I don't like to
That's
mix the two. I'm
yeah.
either straight braid or on fluorocarbon. I just left Grand Lake of the Cherokees. I just got home. I was flipping bushes there. 100% fluorocarbon, 25-pound fluorocarbon. Saginaw Bay was grass, whatever that grass is called. I'm gonna call it roseau-cane because I don't really know what it's called. And I was also flipping tules, braid. I want the ability to cut. I want the possibility and the chance that when I set the hook, I can cut something and get that fish out.
I'm the same. Wood is fluorocarbon and grass is braid. I don't have any reason to go braid the fluorocarbon. My
Mm-hmm.
personal opinion, I don't like braided fluorocarbon on bait casters. The knot disturbs my spool too much when I'm
Yeah.
pitching and flipping to be extremely accurate. So I personally don't like that. The other thing with using braid on wood, why I don't like to use braid on wood, I don't care how big the fish are or how thick the wood is. In my opinion, for whatever reason, my baits snag way more when I'm flipping wood with braid. I don't know why that is, but I can't roll a Texas rig over a limb without it catching with braid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't like it for that. And then also, you got to be careful with braid when you're fishing close quarters like that. So, like Mark was talking about fishing the grass, you flip up there in the grass, you kind of going to have a moment where he's bound up in that grass a little bit, and
Yep.
so that isn't all bad in a way because if I move the fish too much, I get slack in the line. A lot of times I lose him.
Right.
So when you're flipping wood and you got braid, nothing's given. Typically, when you're fishing wood, you don't really bind the fish up a lot with it.
Yep.
You don't, and so you got nothing to bind him up. You set the hook, boom, he's come. You move the fish 8 feet. That sounds great, but that's really not good because catching up 8 foot of line with a reel is not that easy. And so a lot of times you'll lose a lot of fish. If y'all find
Yeah.
something out different, I'd love for you to bring it to the app. But I've practiced that a lot here at home, and braid doesn't work good for me in wood. It's all fluorocarbon with wood, and then if it's grass, I'm not flipping fluorocarbon. I've tried it
No.
a couple times or two, but even just when you snag in grass and you got 25-pound test fluorocarbon, when you go to pull it, it's gonna
Yeah.
break. It's
Yeah.
it's gonna break. You know, you
I
get
don't. I
snagged up
don't like.
half on. It's just no reason to, man. Get in there and get that fish out of there and stop playing.
Yeah, that's it.
And I
And one one
and I,
one thing I want to add to that too, Brian,
yeah.
and you guys will notice this when I'm flipping braid, especially in grass. You don't need the big extra over the top strong
Oh,
hook set. You'll
thank God.
notice I'm not setting the hook crazy hard on these fish. Brian mentioned it earlier with the braid. You got no stretch, and you want to be cognizant of that because if you go and just jack them, you're gonna lose them every single time.
Every
You need to
time.
get them. You need to get them. You need to get them. But it's more of a let the rod load, pull back, and simultaneously be winching on them. It's not the whole drop it down, whack. You lose them all. Lose every one of them. Don't
Every
do that.
time.
Every time.
What he's talking about there, you move the fish. There's a couple things why that slack line. I know that's a famous quote. I ain't gonna get into that, but that slack line, when you do that, you're doing a couple of things, especially with our current rods. If you look at older flipping sticks versus what we have now, flipping sticks nowadays are not the same as flipping sticks even 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Flip stick 15 years ago, that was a gosh dang, that was a freaking rebar, or not rebar. What do you call it during uh stiff as crap? It's always stiff.
Super
What
stiff. A
people
broomstick.
want to say rebar like the hook? What's it? Rebar.
Oh,
Rebar. Is
rebar.
this
Yeah.
rebar? I kept saying rebar like the hook.
Like the hook. Yeah,
Rebar.
yeah, yeah.
all your flipping sticks now got a little bit of, y'all know how I say it's got a little bit of it's got a little
Got a
bit
little
of
funny.
that
Yeah.
that way when you set the hook, you don't move the fish too much. When you move
Right.
him too much, it's not as good as you think. That actually works against you. Something's got to give a little bit. It's got to give a
100%.
little bit. But those drop hook sets, man, that doesn't do anything for you. I learned that from my kids. Watch my kids, when they're little, they can't swing a rod. A 5-foot rod for them to swing up, they can't do nothing. They don't ever lose them. They just,
Yep.
oh, daddy, I got one. Ah! And you're like, real, son, real. And he's just like, okay. And they never lose.
And he's
They
hooked
just barely
perfectly.
do. Hook
Yeah.
perfectly. Hook
Yeah.
perfectly. You don't have to do
I've
all of
noticed
that.
that too. I've noticed that too.
Okay. Uh, I think that's it, right? Let's, Mike. Did you happen to screenshot any question? I'm gonna do this Q&A more, and then you get out of here because
You
this went a
good.
lot longer than it usually does.
It's all good, man. Hey, anything for my guy, man.
Yeah, I
And,
appreciate it. Hey,
anything for my guy and all his viewers and fan base out there. We appreciate y'all.
yeah, the people's appreciate
The
it too, man.
people.
They
Yeah,
I
man.
saw some pretty good questions popping up here.
Yeah, I
Good.
got a few.
Okay,
You want me to throw
what
some
you
out
got?
there?
Yeah, let's just throw some out
All
there.
right. When grass is everywhere, do you take one river arm and figure out the best grass, or do you search everywhere to find a couple of good spots before a tournament?
When grass is everywhere, do I search everywhere or just pick a couple river arms? Right?
I think that's what he's asking. Yeah.
Okay. And that just boils down to how much time you have. So if you have enough time to where you can potentially check it all, yeah, I'd for sure would rather do that. If I don't, I'm going with the most high percentage stuff in a particular creek. So points, um, any kind of major voids in the grass. That's another thing too. People don't know about grass fishing, especially when there's just an abundance of grass. Sometimes the most barren areas are the best
Mhm.
areas on grass fisheries, and it's because it becomes the irregularity versus it's grass freaking everywhere. And then you got this
Right.
one hard spot on the bottom that's clean and there's no grass around and all the bass are right there. So sometimes seeking out irregularities such as that could be a barren spot is a really, really good thing. And again, that's a high percentage place for me. I'm looking for barren areas, voids in the grass, points in the grass, um, just places like that. But hopefully, you'd have a little bit of time where you could get around and look at all of the grass, and go from there. But if not, I would say stick with the high percentage stuff, the stuff closer to the main lake, and then the points leading into pockets and bays, etc. And then major voids in the grass would be, in my mind, the most high percentage stuff.
Yeah, that's a great. You answer all that perfectly. How about this one? This is from Kim Pfeiffer. Mark, you kind of went into this, but I think it'd be a good one. I mean, you would still answer it pretty quickly. How much weight do you use when flipping a fish the Potomac River matted grass in the summer? Do you have so much weight that it goes to the bottom, or the matted, just throw to the matted top of the grass?
Great question. You said his name was Ken?
Yeah, Kim Pfeiffer, long
Kim.
time member of
Okay.
that.
Shout out Kim. Great question. Um, so whenever I'm fishing matted vegetation, which is what I'm getting, you're asking. I love the Potomac River. I love flipping grass there. Absolutely love it. Depending on the density of the grass or the thickness of the grass, I'm gonna vary my weight. But what I'm gonna say is what's very important for me when I'm flipping grass, you always want to reach the bottom. You're gonna always want to contact the bottom. So the way it should look is you pitch to the matted vegetation, whatever the target is you picked out. You want your bait to penetrate that grass and fall freely all the way to the bottom. And hopefully it stops halfway because a fish grabbed it. But you want enough weight
Okay.
to where it's going to fall all the way to the bottom with relative with some relative speed. That is what's key there. Some speed. So it could be a little thinner grass, and a 5/8 or a 3/4 ounce might be what.
Oh, you got a phone call again.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he just got a phone call. That's it. We'll be back.
Sorry, another phone call.
All good.
Of
All
course, they
good.
would call me. My bad. So
All good.
you want to have enough weight to reach the bottom, with relative speed, because speed is what triggers the strike there. So if you got some really dense grass and it's thick, 1.5 ounces, maybe even 1.75 ounces sometimes. But the Potomac, from my experience, the times that I've been there, I'm generally somewhere between a 5/8 and an ounce, generally.
Okay.
Now I see low tide, middle of summer, it could get super thick and matted. You might have to go to something heavier, but generally 5/8 to an ounce ought to cover you over there on the Potomac. What you think, Brian?
About the same. It depends on the context on the Potomac. Like when I'm flipping that spatter dock stuff,
Mm,
um, um, it depends on the bait. So like if it's a stick bait, I'll still use a 3/16. Like I use that like that lunker log to flip the spatter dock, and I'll use a
mm-hmm.
3/16 to fish that.
Sure,
But
sure.
if I'm being honest, I haven't fished a lot of the matted vegetation at the Potomac. I do a lot of flipping hard structure at the Potomac,
Yep,
because
yep,
I just like the current tide breaks, and then I got three things I do with the Potomac. I fish hard stuffed, which docks,
yep,
logs, laydowns. I fish spatted dock,
yep.
and then I like to fish marinas. I don't do not. I don't even have nothing else
Keep it
to do.
simple.
That's all I got. That's all I got.
Yeah,
There's a tournament there
yeah.
this weekend. I want to fish so bad. Toyota Series is there
Oh,
this coming
Toyota
weekend.
Series is there. That's gonna be
Oh,
good.
here I am on here on this video with y'all, bro. I wanted to fish that so bad.
That's gonna be a good one.
So, and I just still didn't answer that question. So 3/16 with that lunker log, because the lunker log is already heavy. Like a Senko is
Right,
already heavy. So now you
right,
still got a 3/4 ounce bait with just the 3/16 ounce sinker.
right.
Um, Now I'll flip that. I throw the swim jig around there. That's like a 3/8 ounce swim jig. I haven't really caught them punching at the Potomac, really.
Yeah.
Um, I've flipped like a 1/2 ounce with a creature or something like that before, but I don't really catch that. I haven't had that work for me in a tournament yet. Not yet. Just on the Potomac.
It's fun.
There's a
Yeah.
follow-up question popped in. Would you approach hydrilla the same way?
Yes, I'm going any emergent grass. So I'm not talking about lily pads, spatter dock, things like that. I'm talking about emergent grass. So hydrilla, coontail, milfoil, those types of grasses. Yes.
Yeah. Hey, this is a good question here, Mark. Let me give you this one. This one will take us in a little different direction. Let me get back to it. I was screenshotting them. All right. So Myron says, what is your thought process on when to use forward facing sonar for a particular period?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it just
That's
varies on time of the year. But a lot of times for us on the BPT, what happens is it's mental. So the bite might even be best in the afternoon/evening, and you want to save it and use it late. But the last thing you want to do is get out there and not use it in the first period. Everybody else fire theirs off. Now they got 20, 30 pound lead on you, and you're sitting there in a bad mental place waiting to use yours in the third period. And it's just tough mentally. So a lot of guys often will use it in the first period. Now, again, it depends on the time of year in the fishery. We just left Grand Lake. Bank Shaw blew it out the water, using it in the third period every day, and so did a lot of guys. But there was a shad spawn going on in the morning. Fishing was good earlier in the day, so you could compete fishing old school and stay in it earlier and not have to leverage that. And then as the shallow bite waned later in the day, then the schools fired up, and now you got forward late in the day to catch them. So a lot of guys opted to use forward facing sonar later in the day. So it just varies on time of year and fishery. But I would say, as a rule of thumb, most guys are going to use it first period.
First period.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's starting to play in a lot more tournaments now. I think even on the local level, some tournaments are doing like half. Like if you fish a club, you may be able to use it half tournaments. Half the tournaments you can't.
Yeah.
So if you're not having to deal with making decisions about forward facing sonar yet, you probably should start thinking about that, because you will soon.
It's coming soon.
It's coming
It is
soon.
a it is
Yeah,
a big part of our sport right now.
yeah, it's coming. You will have to deal with how to use it and when not to use it.
Oh yeah.
This is another good question from Ken Pfeiffer. He says, "What's your ideal distance between your boat and your target when flipping?" I love these. These are good questions. That's a good
Really good
question.
question.
That's a
And,
good question. That'll take you
you know,
somewhere.
and you know what's crazy about that question? That's an excellent question. I don't have a technical answer for that.
Don't have an
It
answer for
just
it.
it
You can
all
feel it.
varies.
Yeah.
It's a feeling. But I will say this: it's a feeling, and it's probably somewhere in the 20 to 30 foot distance. If I had to just
Boat length.
guess, boat length, about a boat length, right? But what's equally as important, if not more important, when you're in that close quarters with these fish, is being quiet and
Mm-hmm.
not having a whole bunch of trolling motor noise and not stomping around your boat and not, there's even instances where I'll turn my graphs off because I feel like I just need to be that stealth. And so I think that's very important. And you watch the guys that are really good flippers on tour, your Greg Hackneys, these are a lot of old school guys because there ain't many flippers coming along. But you just watch them and they're very methodical. They're very quiet, and they're very, they're very particular on where they're placing their baits.
Mm-hmm.
Very much
Yeah.
so. So
I got a lot to say about that. I'll try to make this short. So I always refer to your boat control. If any of you guys have played sports, you know how important footwork is. If you play tennis, footwork is important. If you play soccer, footwork is important. If you play basketball, footwork is important. And
yeah,
so footwork puts you in position to be able to strike the ball the right way. Same way with a boat. If you're too far away, you can't make accurate flips and pitches. So now you don't
hmm
catch the main fish. If you're too
hmm
close, now you're spooking the fish. Uh, so,
yeah,
there's a healthy balance there. It also depends on how thick the structure is or how thick the cover is. How thick is it?
yep,
Sometimes it's so thick that I got to be close because on a long pitch, the bait won't go in there properly. If there's a you got to be close enough to where when you flip it, that bait still has this velocity from when you made that to get it to punch through. So it's got a lot to do with how thick the cover is. It's got a lot to do with the water clarity, how much pressure are the fish getting, um, how easy is it to make accurate pitches. Like if you're
hmm
fishing, like I saw at Grand where a lot of people were fishing bushes and stuff. Well, I can't have 40, 50 foot away from the bushes. I can't make a good accurate flip, and now I don't catch as many
right,
fish. So
right,
in that instance, I might be flipping 15, 20 feet in front of me. It depends on the bait that you're flipping. I flip a drop shot a lot. I didn't talk about that either. I flip a drop shot quite often. And
hmm
so drop shot can be hard to control. So I'm a little bit closer to my target when I'm flipping a drop shot over
yeah,
just like a Texas rig or something like that. But there's all these variables, and it all depends on everything. It depends on everything, Kenny. So you ain't getting no answer off of this. All you getting is a bunch of hoopla. you know, it's almost like asking somebody how you draw a circle. Well, you draw a circle like this, and somebody else said, "Well, no, you draw it from that side." And then
right,
it's like it there's a lot of variables to consider when it comes to distance. I don't have a distance for you either. Like if you keep it 40 feet away, you're going to get
right.
50% more bites.
Right.
I can't give you that, but I can say watching what type of cover you're fishing, your water clarity, your water depth, the lure, and how much accuracy that you need to have for flipping and pitches. So let's just say for a scenario when you're punching mats, you may disagree with this. I feel like punching mats is a lot less about accuracy. Punching mats is more about just like repetitive movements, getting it into as many spots as possible. It's not quite as much about accuracy. You're not going to snag up as much. You're not going to you're not going to have all those issues. So I think that's a lot less about accuracy and more about just getting penetration. But when you're talking about flipping wood or flipping, uh, especially standing vegetation, anytime vegetation above the water surface, it becomes more about accuracy and being able to put that bait in the right spot. So I think that's more important. Let me see. All right, so this is actually a really good one too. What's the difference between flipping and punching? I like
Great
that
question.
question.
That's a good question. And so punching is just a variation of flipping. The technique is flipping, but you basically have light cover, I guess, and then heavy cover. And punching is obviously the heavier cover type of flipping, where you're actually utilizing the weight the weight that's on your bait to penetrate through the vegetation down into where the bass are. Whereas if I'm flipping bushes, I might just have a 3/8 ounce weight on, and I'm just pitching to the outside edges or just to the base of that bush and shaking my bait, pulling it out. Punching, I'm ounce and a half. I'm going through the cheese mat, through the vegetation, through the blown up log jam that's in the back of this pocket in the creek. You're penetrating through something to get to the bass is what punching is.
Yeah, I got nothing to add to that. That was perfect explanation there.
Yeah.
Mike, I think that was all the questions that I saw. You see anything else? Just I saw a couple that we pretty
Yeah,
clearly addressed.
everything else that I saw, yeah, it got covered.
Okay.
I saw Jason just asked, what is your setup for flipping rod size, action, gear
Yeah.
ratio for reel? I think we
He covered
kind
that
of
in
went
that
through
last.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, you can just give him
Can
just
they go
like a
back and
quick.
watch this, Brian?
Yeah, they can go back and watch it.
Okay, awesome.
We can
Awesome.
give it. He may have just joined like a little later. We'll just give him just as we say in the corporate world, we'll give him a bird's eye view, real quick, a bullet point on a bird's eye view of that setup one more time.
Yeah, no problem, man. My setup is anywhere from a 7.6 to a 7.10, heavy action. Uh, in the clips that Brian shared in this video, I was utilizing 50-pound braid, and I had an 8-to-1 gear ratio reel, and that's standard for me whenever I'm grass flipping. I want something that's heavy enough to move the fish, and I want a high-speed reel that I can get them out of there as fast as I possibly can. And then the braid, of course, is very important for grass, in my opinion, so I can cut through the grass. So that's my go-to setup whenever I'm flipping grass.
Perfect. We'll hit this last one from Dylan, and then we're gonna let Mark get on. So, this I really like this question too. Dylan T says, when flipping thick grass, are you always punching deep or hitting the edges?
Great question.
Yeah.
So I'm doing both, and again, it's
Both
a
of them.
situation. Both of them,
Both
BOAF.
both of them. Yeah.
It varies on the scenario, the situation. But like there are times where they're gonna be on the most outer little vegetation points of the hydrilla or the milfoil, whatever it is, they're gonna be on the absolute edge points. So you're gonna be flipping towards the edges. Then there's other times where they're gonna be 5, 10, 15, 20 foot back in the thickest, nastiest part of that mat. And it's just like, geez, what are you even doing back there? You have to check it all. So that's something that I'm playing with during practice. Because what you don't want to do is come down that stretch during the tournament and you flipping one that way back in there and you flipping one to the edge and then you halfway and then you 3/4 back and then you back on the edge. And now you're not efficient and your bait's not in the strike zone as much as it should be. So I try to identify that and figure that out, what part of the mat they're using the most in practice, to where that way when I come back through there, I'm very efficient and I'm hitting those high percentage places more than I'm experimenting with, different parts of the mat. I want to know what they're living on and get right to them.
You know, something I realized, I don't know how you feel about this. It seems like the farther north I go, the shallower that a bass is willing to go. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's just my imagination making that up, and I'm open to that. But
No.
it seems like the farther north I go, those fish up north, I don't know how you don't see them sometimes as
I
shallow
know
as
it.
they are. I don't know how they're even living as shallow.
I know it's
I don't
amazing.
know how like it's amazing. Like we worried about our live wells doing this and that. Did you see where that fish came from? Like my live well is deeper than where he's living right now.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
but it also goes to your question. Also has a lot to do with the conditions at hand: sunny, cloudy, windy, muddy. Time of the year, spawning, not spawning. Is the water level moving up or down? Because obviously,
Right.
a lot of times you're not going to be pushed way back in that stuff if the water's falling out. So I think to answer your question, it's going to have a lot to do with the water movement and the conditions at the moment. That's what I've
Mm-hmm.
found in prior experiences. All right, that was perfect, man. Thank you for spending the extra time with us too,
Oh,
man.
bro, anytime. You know that, B. I
Yeah,
appreciate it,
I
man. Shout
appreciate
out
it.
to all y'all that be following along and and subscribing to Brian's class, man. This is really cool, man. This is something that if when I was first starting, I'd love to have been a part of, you
Oh
know.
man, it's great. I appreciate this community here. I mean, these guys in here in the app, they're really good at teaching too. Like a lot of times, I don't have to teach anything. Somebody asks something in the app, and they'll have 10 people under it suggesting
Yeah,
lures, baits, techniques, and stuff. That's the part that I love about it because I don't
that's
know
awesome.
everything. I don't know everything. I actually really know very little about fishing. The older I get, I realize how little I actually know about it. But I appreciate everybody sharing everything. And I appreciate you coming to share stuff as well too, man.
Oh yeah,
Um,
anytime.
y'all make sure y'all go follow Mark. You know how to find this stuff. I'm not gonna do this. Tell us how we can follow. Y'all know how to find him if you
That's
you're
right.
not already. Man. Y'all
Yeah.
know YouTube, just YouTube, all the social webs. Go find it. Next tournament. Where's the next tournament, Mark?
Our last one, Sandusky Bay, Ohio, Lake
Oh
Erie.
wow, wow,
Yep,
wow,
yep. Long
wow!
ways
It'd be
away.
fun. Yeah.
I
So
think
make sure
Go
y'all.
everybody
me.
I think everybody said something about a forward facing sonar video that everybody's seen. So I think they
Oh yeah,
know where to find you.
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
They can.
absolutely.
Yeah, every podcast you go in to tell people how you can find it. Man, put my name in the internet. That's it. We
That's
can find
it.
it.
Type it in, baby.
Type
You'll
it
run
in,
across
man.
them.
Find the stuff. It's one thing. So if y'all up there, I know we got quite a few people from the Northeast. Y'all make sure y'all show up at the weigh-in or not the what do we call? We don't call it the weigh-in. What do we call where the meet and greet you guys have? Like at a Bass Pro or something?
Takeout.
The
It's
takeout.
whenever we take out right there at the ramp, that's when generally the fans are hanging out and we
Oh,
interact
perfect.
and hang out then.
I know we got some guys from up in that area. So go up to the takeout, take some pictures or Mark or at the tournament and post them here in the app.
All right, cool.
Appreciate y'all joining the live today. We got another one at 6:00. I'll be doing the 6:00 one solo. I think I can't remember what it was. I think I was talking about spinnerbait fishing in tournaments. So if y'all are free, make sure you tune in at 6 p.m. this evening, Eastern time. And then we'll talk about more tournament stuff. You got 3 days of it. Y'all be sick of hearing my voice by the end of this week. All right. Thanks, Mark.
Righto.
Give me a
Thank
shout
y'all.
whenever
See
you
you.
get time,
Thank you,
boss.
Brian.
All right. Take care. Y'all have a good rest of
All
your
right,
day.
fellas. All right. You too, boss. Later.